So we are back in the next session.
Okay.
So in this session, we are going to create another data file for this card. And then what we are going to do, so our file was, our program was there. We realize that now we have no error, and then we don't have any other component of that card file because we removed all the components. And we fixed all the components into these two files, either the body or the card widget itself. So another thing we are going to do, I'm going to copy the card file from here up to its end. Actually, to cut it from there. It stops from there. I'm going to cut it from there. After cutting it from there, I think you are seeing what I've done. Then I'm going to put my cursor on, I'm going to click on the lib. Are you seeing that? Hello?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay, so I'm going to click on the lib. When I click on the lib, I right click there and then I get that option for creating a new, and then I choose a new data file, which is down. So I can call it port card. I can give it that name, port card. And the file is there. So I'm going to paste that code there. And after pasting the code, you see very many errors there. And the reason for those errors, we have not imported the material.dat. So you have to first import that package.
So
In whichever file you create, you have to import that material.dat. And after, still we see some errors. Why do we see those errors? We have to import also from this port.dat. So you have to import that port.dat into this file. Because remember, we had a port.card which was here and it was defining our constructor. So you have to also import it. Since they are in the same folder, I just define import, then I write its name, port.dat. That has been imported. I think you are no longer seeing any error. I think that now we have no errors there.
yeah.
But when you go to our main method, we are going to find the errors there. The reason, because we have to first import the file we have created in this main. So we are going to import. We have called it port card. And actually, when I write, they bring that completion. And now you are seeing that you have no errors. And you can see that we have a unique port card within its own file. We have the constructor within its own file. And then we have our main. And we have no errors. Let me try to save and see. So actually, me when I'm creating an application, for example, the application which I'm creating, so far I've created 6 screens. I first design all the screens on one page, and after I cut each and every widget, and then I paste it into another file. I do that for all files until when all the 6 screens are catered for. Meaning that if I have 6 screens, those are six different files. Because when I create different files, they are very simple to debug than when you have only one with the 500 lines of code.
Okay. So so I've realized where I have a challenge is creating the methods and constructors like that.
Okay, but when you go through those videos, you understand the concepts better. And in case of anyway, you don't understand, you can always ask. Because you have to use these constructors whenever you are dealing with stateful widget, especially when you are creating dynamic data. When you are creating data which is not dynamic, there is no problem. So another thing we are going
So
to do
in the second widget,
in which widget? Yes.
In the second widget, the one we put a quote card dot that. Okay, let me say the SLS widget that we created. Can't we make it also stateful?
Of course, no problem. You can always convert.
Because I remember I remember.
You can always
Okay.
convert it into a stateful widget. You can see that option, convert to stateful, and I simply convert. There will be no.
And the final word, there's this word you put.
Okay, then after I can remove the word
final. It's supposed to remain.
It can remain or you can remove it. Now I have removed it and I'm not seeing any error. So because final is used in both stateful and stateful, you can use it to provided the method you are calling final will not change. But if you expect some change ahead, then you can't declare it to be final. Like now I have written quote and I'm not seeing any error. But if I know that it will not change anywhere, then I can call it final. And I give it a final keyword. And actually, when I don't give it the name final and I leave it like that, I don't get any error. But you know what I get? I get a weak point. You know, we always have weak points and errors. Like when I come and click here, they will tell me that there is one weak warning. Are you seeing that?
Yeah.
A weak point doesn't affect your code to run it properly, but they are trying to tell you that there is something which is not proper. For example, here you declared something as a quote, but you haven't changed its contents anywhere, meaning that you are supposed to call it final. And when I call it final, it will disappear. I think you are saying that now I don't have the other one which was there. So now they are telling me that my code is proper. So you have to know the difference. Where you have a weak point, an error is always red, but a weak point is always like yellow, but it doesn't affect your code, it runs smoothly. Another thing I want to create a button such that someone can delete actually a quote from there. If I don't want a quote, I can delete it from there. So I want to create that delete button, and I can create it within the quote card. This is our quote card. So at the end of the last widget, I will create it. So our last widget was a text. I can put there a comma. Let me first put there a sized box such that I can give some spacing. I can give it a height of which height? Let me say 8.0. Then after the sized box, I'm going to create a button, which is a flat button. But flat is no longer needed in Flutter. Now they use the elevated button. So in the new version of Flutter, the word flat is outdated.
Then the floating floating action button, are they the same?
No,
elevated.
Elevated is a flat button. The floating action button is that one which is always round. This flat button is a normal button. This elevated button is the normal button.
But do they do the same function?
With what? All buttons do the same. All buttons, they do the same, provided what you have defined is the same. The method you define inside the button is what matters. The type of button doesn't matter. It's just for making your output look nice. So I have the only pressed method. Then I'm going to give it a child which is a text, and I'll call it delete. I'll call it delete quote, so that someone can see that when I click on this button, I can delete the quote from there. Let me first save and see how it looks like. I think you are seeing that delete button there. Then another thing we are going to, but I'm not interested in that color. So I'm going to just change it to a text button. A text button is better actually, because a text button we just put there text. So I don't want that color to be there. It is making my card very big. So let me just simply use a text button. So all buttons do the same, just the appearance matters. There's somewhere I want to use a text button. There's somewhere I want to, like in the other screenshots I sent you, look at some things like those ones, forgot password, those are buttons, but I use text button because I didn't want that box to appear. But then these ones, log in, create an account, those ones I use the elevated button. But where I don't want someone to see those outline, the borders, then I just use a text button, because the text button is actually just text, which when you click on it, it acts like a button. I think you can see. But then someone that doesn't look nice. So what I can do, I can add an icon there. What I can do, actually, instead of using a child, I can call this one a label. It's the spelling. Let me see. Okay, label maybe label is no longer this version. Let me just maintain the child. You know, whenever they update something, they change things. And then I want to also define an icon. But I'm also seeing an icon is no longer accepted. Let me first click on text button and I see which things are accepted there.
What I think it works with an elevated button.
Elevated button, but I have challenges with elevated button. The appearance of it. But what you can always do, you can just put a row inside. Like for example, I'm going to convert this child into a row, because I know that if I convert into a row, then I can put multiple widgets there. That's always a better option. Now inside the children, I can also bring in the icon. And here I just bring the widget directly. And I'm going to give it, there is a delete icon, which is icons.delete. I think they are still checking if it exists. Let's see, error. I think so. Sometimes it takes time to load and check if that widget you have typed exists, because actually we have a library of more than 5,000 icons. So when you type an icon, they have to check in that library whether the icon exists. I think you are seeing that. Are we together there?
Yeah,
So I want
I
this
can see.
icon. I want this icon to come faster than the text. So I can just paste it there. Then I also want to create a sized box. Okay, let me first save that and receive. Control S.
I'm seeing okay. I was seeing an error, but just gone.
So when you first type the name of an icon, for example, if you know the name directly in your head, then it will take some time to remove that error. They have to first check in their library whether it exists, because their library is very big. So I have a link which I will send in the group, which is having those icons. For example, if you are designing an application, it's always better you go through and you look for the icon you want, then you just type the name.
Yeah.
Let us wait and see. And actually, when you type that icon, you can always see it aside that. For example, when you look at line 45, I'm seeing that delete icon. Are you seeing that now? That now I have the delete icon, and then I have the quote. So if I want, actually, because I want to make that text black, yes,
I wanted to say, can we center it?
can we center it? Oh, of course we can center.
Widget.
You just come to row and you wrap that row into a center widget. So let me see, I wrap the center, then let me save and receive. It hasn't worked. I think what will work. Oh, let me see. Let me click on row and I see what is inside there. We have the cross-axis alignment. Oh, I think that cross-axis alignment dot center can be used to center them.
Yeah.
So meaning that inside the row, I'm going to be having a cross-axis alignment. So when you don't know something, you just put a cursor there and they will tell you the properties which are inside. Because you can't know each and every widget to use. So I'm seeing cross-axis alignment dot center. So when I click on it, let me save and see whether it will work for us. Another thing I wanted is to change that color from blue to black. So when I click on icon, they are telling me that there's that option for color. So meaning that inside this icon, I'm going to put a comma there, and I'm going to define a color, a property which is color. Oh, the center has not worked. Then I'm going to
Just failed.
it has.
Uh,
I think we have to use the main axis alignment.
yeah, you try. I did say try. Yeah, that
Huh?
access. The main.
Now let us use colors dot black. Also the text, I want to change the color of the text also to black.
Are you supposed to introduce text style?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. So use the text style, and then we use the text style widget. And then inside, I can define the color which I want. Because the only property I'm interested in is color. And actually I want to use colors dot black. So I've defined the color. Let me just remove this. Actually, I can remove the word cross and I replace it with the main. Also here, I do the same. I'm not seeing any error. Let me save that and see. Now, the only thing we are remaining with, we have to define the delete method, because we want that when I click on that delete, it will remove the quote from there. So the only thing we are remaining with is to define the delete function. But now remember, we have a challenge that we have our quotes in the main method, but we have this card in this method, meaning that we have to define the, I think you are saying that it's now centered.
Yeah.
And also the color has changed, meaning that if I want to create that delete function, I have to go to the main, because it is our main which is having the quotes. It is this main which is having the quotes. I say that all our quotes is in the main. So meaning that when I want to define this delete method, then I have to define it from the main, and then I call it from the other code. So I'm going to come here. So now inside this quote card, let me do like this. So I've just sent them to the next line. Then after this quote method, I want to create another method which is delete. Inside this quote, inside the quote card, I think remember where you pasted the other quote card. So that quote card was taking in a quote method which is of type quote. And then there we want to create a delete method, and then that delete method we are going to give it a function. So you have to now we give a function. The method is delete. So at the end of those braces, then we just create the curly brackets. You can put there a comma for. Then in the next line, I'm going to create a set state, because whenever I want to deal with something in Flutter, for example, if you want to delete, if you want to increase something, we use that set state function. This set state means that it changes the current state to something else. So actually, it is a defined method in Flutter. That's why you have seen that when I type set, then it brought the auto completion. So now this set state, I can just give it a method, because you know that we have different methods in programming. We have the remove method, we have the delete method. So I'm going to just use quotes.remove. And then we give it what to remove, because it takes in an argument. So I want it to remove a quote. And I'm done with defining that method.
First wait, these things always confuse me. Between a function and a method, what's the difference between the two?
Some methods are functions actually, but you shouldn't be confused. You should know what to use. Like a direct method is like a method where you have a child method, because you know that anything in Flutter which starts with a small letter is actually a method. But then we have that Day8 method, and then that Day8 method, it will take in some arguments inside. And inside the Day8 method, I want to define a function, which is the set state. So now the set state is a function. Whichever you see which ends with a semicolon is a function. Are you getting me now?
And it's supposed to start with a small letter. A
Of
small
course,
letter or capital?
it starts with a small letter. If it is an inbuilt function, it starts with a capital letter. I mean a small letter. For example,
Small letter.
for example, set state is an inbuilt method, and it will take in. I want it to return actually to remove the quotes. So I'll just give it a method which is quotes.remove, because we have inbuilt methods like a remove, like a reverse. Those are inbuilt methods. You just give it what to remove. For example, I want this one to remove a quote. And then I terminate. So after terminating, what am I remaining with? Of course, what I'm remaining with, I don't have that function in Day8. I have to define it within this quote card. So what I'm going to do, so I go to the area where I define my functions from. So after the final quote card, I mean the final quote, I'm going to define another final method, which is a final function. Because this is a function, which is the Day8. So I'm going to call this one a final function, Day8. So it is final. The meaning of final means that it is final to this method. I mean, it is final to this file. For example, in this quote card.dat, I'm not implementing it from there. I'm implementing it from the other one. So that's why it is final here. So then in this constructor, which is quote card, I think we're seeing an error. They are trying to tell you that that Day8 method is not defined in this constructor. So we are going to include it there. We just write this dot Day8. And then remember in the new function of Flutter, actually I just click there and they will give me what to do. Add required, and I click there, they add the word required. Because in the new function of Flutter, they always want that method. Then what we are remaining with, I think, is to call that Day8 method in the only pressed. Because remember we created a button here, but we didn't give it anything. So we just call the method Day8. Just that, and I think that is enough. Are we having any error? Let us see. And define the name with Day8. Try to correct it. See, but I defined it already. Is there anywhere I haven't defined it? Why are they telling me it is undefined?
I think the what the quotes, the brackets.
Okay, let me
try putting them at least.
Let me try to write the word Day8 and see. I don't want an icon. because when you are calling a method, you actually don't have to. Let me try to put the brackets there, but I know the brackets don't have to be there. I just be like that. Let me check this and I see if I have any error. So I don't have any errors here. Then if I check in the port card, so the error is, so let me check through and I see because if I don't have any error in the other method, then the error has to be here. Let me check. Undefined name would delete, try correcting the name to that one which is defined. Let me check what I have defined. But I have defined it from here as a function. What can be missing there? Let me try to check and see. Unless I have to import another file from here, let me check. So let me first try to import. They are telling me it is not needed, so there is no need of importing it from here. So where should the problem be? Let us check our main and this is how we define that method. Because there we just need the code c.remove. That is all.
If I
Because the constructor is already here and the final method, the final function is there, what could be the problem? So let me try to check the challenges here only. I don't think there is any other challenge. So books.
try, you try and put back the brackets and if first put them in the curly brackets and see.
The curly brackets.
Yeah.
Okay, let me first do like this and let me first convert this one into an icon button. Still when I do like that. I don't think that is necessary. Okay. Let us first I do like this. But if I call the method from inside, still the error is there. What could be wrong with this? They are telling me to create function in Day8. But the function, I already have it within the main. That is a challenge. So, so this is challenging to see where the problem is. Because I already have the Day8 which is defined, but then calling it from here is the main issue. Okay, let me try to set it from here and we see. Our function was here, set state. What's dot remove? But still, I'll get a problem from there because the quotes are in this file. So I'm sensing that problem. So that is a big issue there. Okay, let me try to check and see. Maybe the final keyword may be a problem. Final function, let me just call it a function. Function Day8. Containing class quote card. Packages, quotes, stock quote card. Containing class. Yeah, they are telling me no issue. So where could the problem be? First remove that and then I call the Day8 there. I have to just put a comma. On pressed voice call. Let me see. They are telling me to create a get at Day8. Let me first save this and see. So we have less than a minute there.